Actually, that theme, not in this movie. But if you were to ask me what my favorite theater experience has ever been, it would have to be Rocky IV. Rocky IV stars Sylvester Stallone, Talia Shire, Burgess Meredith. He's not in this movie. Rocky IV stars Sylvester Stallone, Talia Shire, Carl Weathers, Dolph Lundgren, and is directed by Sylvester Stallone. So what's up, guys? Rocky IV Revisited is a video that I've been planning for probably a year now, seriously. I've reviewed the first 4 Rocky movies, actually, including Rocky IV. Rocky IV was the one that I started with when I first started my channel. Quite a few months after that, I reviewed Rocky I, II, and III. And then I thought, you know what? I want to go back and I really want to dig a little deeper into Rocky IV, because my first review, I wasn't as seasoned as I am now, I guess you could say. And so there's much more that I just wanted to say. There's some production value that I wanted to add to this review. Rocky IV is a very special movie to me, so that's why I think it deserves a revisited review. Really, this is my childhood right here. I grew up in the 80s, and Rocky and Rambo were just larger than life to me. Stallone was and is my idol, and he was everything to me back then. And before we get into this review, I just want to give a quick shout out to Louis Urena. He is a friend of mine that actually is on my Drumdums Facebook page, and he often leaves comments there after I post a review or whatever, and he just likes talking about movie stuff. So Louis, I wanted to give you a quick shout out before I get rolling into this review. So anyway, here we go. Now, Rocky IV is one of those movies that I remember the first time I saw the poster. I remember sitting in the theater and watching this movie. I remember that whole experience because, like I've said, this is the greatest theater experience I've ever had, and I'm about to tell you why. But Rocky III had come out 3 years before, and back then you couldn't get movie news on the fly like you can now. Remember, guys, there was no internet. So everything you heard, you would have read in an entertainment magazine, you might have seen it on TV. And the first thing I even heard of Rocky IV, I was literally walking down the street, and I passed the theater and I looked up and I saw on the marquee this poster you see right here. That was the first clue to me that they were making a new Rocky movie. Didn't even know what it was about, but this poster was really iconic. It caught my eye immediately, and still to this day, it's one of my favorite movie posters ever. To me, the poster says so much. You can tell that it's after Rocky has been in a fight, and it just looks so larger than life. And with the American flag wrapped around him, I mean, it just says it all. I love this poster. But I remember going to see this movie opening night in the theater, and the small theater that I went to back home only showed 2 movies at a time, and they closed down the other movie. This movie was just really huge at the time. I remember I was on a date. I was 13 years old at the time, and my date was not a fan of Sylvester Stallone at all, not a fan of the Rocky series at all. As a matter of fact, so much she said that she was going to root for the other guy. I got a kick out of that. By the end of this movie, she was rooting for Rocky. The final fight of this movie, the crowd was not only cheering, but they literally stood up at times and started, you know, fist pumping, and everybody was just so into the fight. It was like it was a real fight. To this day, I've never had a theater experience like that. And I've seen a lot of greats in the theater. I've seen Star Wars, I've seen The Dark Knight, but nothing can match that feeling of elation seeing a movie in the theater. That fight was just so big, but we're gonna get to that. So in Rocky IV, Rocky is a seasoned fighter. He's literally thinking about hanging up the gloves. And then comes this inhuman Russian by the name of Drago. And it's not just about Drago, it's about us versus them, Russia versus America. And if you remember back at that time, there was this whole Cold War thing going on. There were a lot of tensions between Russia and America, and this movie was just right there in the middle of all of it. And Apollo Creed is a very outspoken person. He has something to say about this, and he wants to do more than say. He wants to get in the ring and prove that the Americans, we will stand up to anybody. And during this fight, of course, Apollo Creed is killed. And one thing that's cool about that is this is really the one movie that ties right into 2015's Creed. Apollo's death is a big reason why Apollo's son starts fighting, because you can imagine the effect that that would have on a fighter if his father was actually killed in the ring. So you're always trying to live up to that. And after watching Creed, it's cool to go back and watch Rocky IV because it kind of adds just a new element to it. But Rocky really has no choice. He has to stand up for his friend.
If he dies, he dies.
So much so that he even chooses to not make this about the title, not make this about money. I will go to the guy's home turf in Russia and I will fight him in front of his home crowd. To me, that's awesome. That's what Rocky is all about. He's not about fame and fortune. He's not about money. At the end of the day, he's gonna stand up and do what he thinks is right in his heart. Everybody's kind of against Rocky in this movie, even his wife, Adrian.
It's suicide! You've seen him, you know how strong he is. You can't win!
She tells Rocky that you can't win. You will die if you get in the ring with this guy. But Rocky is stubborn. He says, I have to fight him. If I don't fight him, then what does that make me as a man? So really, Rocky is willing to pay the ultimate price to fight this guy. Life literally doesn't matter anymore. And there's a really great metaphor for life in Rocky IV. You have this opponent, Drago, which could represent really anything that is considered impossible that you want to achieve in your life. If you look at that at square one, you haven't done any preparation, and you say in your head, there's no way I could ever do this, accomplish this, beat this guy, Drago. That's how inspiring Rocky IV is. The message behind it really is that no matter how big the challenge, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. You can accomplish that goal. And that's what Rocky wants to do. He wants to stand toe-to-toe to Drago, and he wants to show him that, hey, I'm not afraid, and you might knock me down, but I'm gonna get right back up. Now, Dolph Lundgren is a perfect guy to play Ivan Drago. And what's interesting is he was one of over 8,000 people trying out to get this role, and he lobbied for it for over 6 months. And the guy actually had some trouble behind the scenes. You know, he was so into the role that he kind of caused some damage, not only to Stallone, but also Carl Weathers, who during this fight, Dolph Lundgren kind of took it a little bit too far. So behind the scenes, Carl Weathers did not get along with Dolph Lundgren. As a matter of fact, they had to shut down production for almost a week. And then eventually Stallone talked both of them into hashing it out and then getting back to work and finishing the movie. But also in the final fight, Stallone is known for, when he does the actual fights in his movies, he likes to add this air of realism. So much so that he wants to do it for real for however many minutes that he needs to do it, because the footage has to look real at the end of the day. And that's what he wanted to do in the final fight in this movie. He told Dolph Lundgren, for the next 15 seconds, just go ahead and hit me as hard as you can. We're really fighting. The damage that Dolph Lundgren did to Stallone's chest was so bad that he was in intensive care for a week. The guy almost died, literally died because of this fight. And people still talk about it to this day. That is the dedication that Stallone puts into a role. He will stop at nothing to get that end result. So it's almost funny, it's like art imitating life. Stallone will stop at nothing to finish this movie, and Rocky will stop at nothing to stand up to Drago. Now let's talk about the training montage in this movie. Vince DiCola actually did the music for this movie because Bill Conti was actually working on the Karate Kid movies. So Stallone went with a different composer. And it worked. Vince DiCola actually pulled out a great training montage. And then you also had John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, which is a silly name, of course, but they did the Hearts on Fire song. But the music, it's definitely stamped in the 80s, but the movie itself is stamped in the 80s, so you kind of needed a score to fit that, and the score works perfectly. You have two great training montages, and they're very different. The first training montage, which is called Training Montage, it's not Stallone being the best of the best, but it's not him being the worst either. If you remember in Rocky II, Stallone had a lot on his mind, so he couldn't perform to the fullest in his training. And this one wasn't like that. He still had a lot on his mind, but he was so focused that he still wanted to train the best he could. So he's kind of at like an 8 on the training montage, but then when Adrian comes back and Stallone has everything centered, everything focused, then he kicks it up to 10 in the second training montage. But guys, the two training sequences in this movie are probably my favorite just because of how intense they are. And still to this day, I have the album, Rocky IV, on my phone. I constantly listen to it. I just ran this morning and I ran to this music. That's how motivating it is. I've been running to this music for over 30 years now. But one thing I love is how it showcases the differences in the training styles between Rocky and Drago. Drago is using state-of-the-art, the best equipment that is out there. Rocky is roughing it. He's using the land, he's using whatever means he can get his hands on to train. And to me, Rocky's training sequence is much more effective. You know, he's even fighting the elements, the cold. He literally runs up a mountain at the end. But the purpose of these montages is by the end, you feel like Rocky could take on the world. He is fully prepared, he's fully ready, and he really was. If you look at the shape of Stallone in this movie, this is probably the best shape he's ever been in. He literally looks like a statue. Okay, now we're gonna talk about the final fight. This is the penultimate of the movie. Rocky IV is the shortest movie out of all the movies. And there's not a slow moment in it. And by the time you get to the final fight, it really just goes for broke. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. Everything builds to this. It's much more personal, it's much more emotional. And I think that's one reason why the fight works so well.
Take it straight to him now. Take it straight to him. Be a rock for him. You understand? Be a rock for him. Be strong. All right? Now take it to him. No pain. No pain.
No pain.
No pain. All right, walk to it.
And I love how in the first couple of rounds, Rocky is having a really rough time. He's kind of sizing up his opponent, but there's only so much he can take because Drago is a freaking machine. But Rocky, you know, he fights him smart. He looks for a weak spot. And then when he finally gets under his skin, when he finally cuts him,
He's cut! He's cut!
Russian's cut, and it's a bad cut. And now it's Rocky Balboa coming after Ivan Drago.
that's when all bets are off. That's when you know that, okay, now we have a fight. And the moment when Rocky picks up Drago and throws him to the ground,
Grabs Rocky Balboa by the throat. Balboa picking up the Russian and throws him to the ground like a wrestler. It's a gutter war. No holds barred in Moscow. Rocky may be on the receiving end so far, but he's here to fight.
I kid you not, the whole theater just completely erupted. It was one of the coolest experiences I have ever seen in a movie theater. To me, this is one of the best fighting sequences out of the whole saga. The punches themselves sound louder than usual. It sounds like explosions almost. I'm getting excited right now just thinking about it.
Come on, fight!
And by the end of this fight, you feel full. You feel like you have been given a meal. That's what Rocky IV is. It really just gives everything. And it's shocking to me that the fourth movie in a franchise can still deliver on that level and not copy the movies beforehand. And I think that's a big reason why Rocky IV still resonates with people to this day. If you ask Rocky fans what your favorite Rocky movie is, a lot of them will say Rocky IV. Rocky IV is just so different than the rest of the movies, and it doesn't surprise me when people say Rocky IV is their favorite. Sometimes it's my favorite. I guess it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Rocky IV is more of an action film, whereas the first couple Rocky movies, they're really dramas. And as far as movies getting me pumped up and making me want to get motivated, I think Rocky IV does it the best. So for that, I'm definitely gonna give Rocky IV a Trapped on an Island. This movie is everything to me. And I'm definitely planning on finishing up the Rocky series and doing Rocky V and Rocky Balboa. So anyway guys, what are your thoughts on Rocky IV? Looking forward to hearing. Also, for more movie talk, make sure you come on over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day, every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays, so we can talk about Rocky IV or the Rocky franchise. If you look down below, you can see all my social media links. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Hope you have a great day, and Drumdum out.